Hey everyone, Will here. Before we get into this episode, I just wanted to take a second to thank you. Not you as in you, all the listeners. I mean, like, specifically you. You, the one listener right now listening to this at this point in time. You may be the only listener listening to this right now. So I am specifically talking to you. And I wanted to thank you for listening to this episode or any episodes at all. The fact that you are still here after 126 episodes is kind of incredible. It's incredible. So in the spirit of thanking you, the listener, I want to preemptively thank you for doing us here at Movies with the Best Friend Phil a favor. Most of you know that we are on both Instagram and Facebook. But now, as of this episode releasing, we are on both YouTube and TikTok. We are not announcing that right now. In fact, Phil and Greg aren't even aware that I'm doing this as of the recording. So if you could please follow and subscribe on those platforms, that would be really helpful. Also, if you haven't already, leaving an iTunes review is actually one of the most helpful ways to get the podcast in other people's ears. I'm going to try and make 2024 the best year for this podcast. Also, we have a new theme song. The last one was a little too copyright infringy. Let me know what you guys think of the new theme. But for now, enjoy episode 127, Galaxy Quest. What's in your wallet?
I'm so old.
I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 explosive hot dog carts.
Ritualistic blood magic.
Laser shooting chesty statues.
Don't watch movies unless we tell you to. Welcome to Movies with my best friend Phil, a movie podcast that's out of this world. You get it? You guys get it? You get?
No, it's in this world.
Because we did it. No, because we did.
Is it? Oh, because the internet and satellites and stuff. Because we're talking over the internet.
No, because of Galaxy. Because of the movie.
Oh,
because they're in the.
right.
Because they're not on Earth. Because they do the thing and then.
Yeah. And then that movie's.
Yeah.
I watched it over Wi-Fi.
Yeah. I feel like you're not getting this.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm your host, Bill Kessel, Spaceman Phil, here as always with two of my very best friends. Best friend number A, Craig Norland.
That's Dr. Spachemin to you.
Oh, yes, Dr. Spachemin. Yes, sorry. I don't know how I could forget
Everyone keeps calling me Dr. Spaceman. I don't know why.
I don't either. It doesn't even rhyme.
That's that's a very similar joke to Scrubs, which I think is a better one. Dr. Beard Facet.
Oh, yeah. That's I am Uncle Beardface to Charlie.
Yeah.
So occasionally Steve will call me Beard Facet. They were doing that this weekend. It was pretty good. Also joined by best friend number A. Nope, that was Craig. Letter 1. Will Chodas.
Hey, Phil. How you doing?
I'm great.
Yeah.
I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see you you didn't take that weather with you that you showed up with. Yeah.
Yeah, here's the problem though, is that it was here too.
Yeah. No, I
came back and it was -10 when I got off the plane.
Yeah.
-10.
So Phil came to Michigan for the weekend, and at the exact same time, it went from being like 40 degrees to -2 degrees in like 24 hours. And I said the thing that all dads say when somebody shows up and the weather's different is, all right, so you brought the weather with you, huh?
Yeah.
So and now see what I'm calling back to a joke that I made in real life as if I made it on the podcast. Because
that means it's doubly funny.
Well, right. And I figured, like, it's Phil, it's your favorite thing to do. So I thought I'd give it a try.
Isn't it great?
Mm-hmm.
You get double credit.
You sure do.
Yeah. as soon as I landed, basically everyone that I talked to before you guys and after you guys was like, "Oh, you brought the weather with you," and I was like, "No, I don't want this. Nobody wants this." It was terrible. Then I came home to -10, but it's starting to warm up. Was like 30 today at one point.
Not here. They have not opened the schools yet not because there's snow, it's because everything just froze, and so they don't know what to do with the back roads. It's just all ice. So my kids have not been in school, and that's been so fun.
Oh, that explains the 1,000-yard stare you've had since we started.
That explains
recording.
the energy.
I was like, "Oh, is Craig mad at me? I'll text Phil about this later."
Is it going to be another Die Hard?
Oh God.
I was sleeping before this. I'm like, man, I can go to sleep right now. Oh, I got the podcast. I can go to sleep right now.
Oh yeah. So I got a pretty wild question for the two of you. I'm going to start with Will.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had to cancel a credit card and then request a new one.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where to put it. When it comes in, they're gonna mail it to us, and then we have to activate it, and then where do I keep it?
Have you
in
tried
terms of like a place that would be safe?
Have you tried up your butt?
Gotcha.
Dang it. You got me.
So
That's my bit.
Yeah.
You know how many times I wanted to say that this weekend to the kids, but like it's maybe not appropriate to say it to the kids.
Right.
I mean, that's your go-to. I'm pretty sure you've said up your butt to me at least 100 times.
It's one of my favorite bits.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm looking for this. Oh, have you tried looking up your butt? It's always funny to me, and that's all I care about.
That's all that counts.
But, Phil, to answer your original question, I do think there's something in proximity normally to your butt that you would put a credit card in. Not the one that you canceled. Usually you just throw that in the garbage.
Yeah, I was just going to leave it on the sidewalk.
Oh, well, I mean, that might get somebody excited and then disappointed when they realize it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's just like trick the criminals,
Yeah, I mean, that's doing God's work. Could
you tell me, is it made of cloth, or is it made of like another material?
Yeah, the thing I'm thinking of, I know what you're talking about, and I think what you're talking about is boxer briefs.
Yes,
yeah.
I love leather boxer briefs.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Just cooking down there.
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, it's a wallet.
But I'm protected from arrows.
Oh, right, yeah. Wallet, right?
I hope somebody timed how long it took us to get from the beginning of this segment to us actually naming the segment.
Well, in order for that to happen, that would require listeners, which see previous segment to understand why we don't have any of those. Oh, so Phil, did you have a question? All right, it's time for What's in Your Wallet? It's the segment where we reach deep into our best friend's pants and whip out some recommendations. It's What's in Your Wallet. Forgot that was something I was supposed to do.
Yeah, it's your thing. I'm the host, but I don't do any of the work. And everyone knows that. Yeah. That's just science. That's just
why
how
we
that
love
works.
you.
It's almost as if that's how you've lived your entire life.
100%.
So you're asking me what's in my wallet?
Yeah. What have you been up to? What is something that you are into?
So I'm gonna go off the beaten
Sensually.
path a little bit. Normally, I like to bring a piece of media, typically of the video variety or movie variety or music variety. But so I'm gonna do something a little different. I recently got a new toy for Christmas. So I'm holding up my guitar for the guys to see. But on the side here, I have this little device that plugs right in. I'm going to take it out. And it's called the amp plug. And this is the Vox amp plug Brian May edition, which, for those of you who don't know, Brian May is the guitarist queen, the greatest rock guitarist of all time, of the greatest band of all time. But this is like this little, so it's this little tiny amp thing that you plug into your guitar. And
wait, are you counting the guy from Metallica?
Steve Metallica? Yeah, no, I don't think he's the greatest, but
are you counting the Edge?
I am most definitely
Gregory Edge.
I am counting the Edge, and I have to say, he's not even in my top 10.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a rock and roll guitarist who doesn't like the blues. What are you doing? What?
Pick a different lane.
What's going on? He didn't want it. They're like, we're not going to bend any of the strings. What? Why have a guitar? Play a piano. Anyways, not a fan of you two. No, it's just this really cool little tiny toy that isn't necessarily meant for like performing, but it has a ton of little effects in it, all of which are Brian May based. It even has like a drum machine so you can play along. It's powered by like batteries, and you just plug in. It's not meant to like. It doesn't amplify sound anywhere, but it goes to your earbuds and your headphones rather, and it's gotten me back into playing guitar because like I have little boys who are. If I was to plug my guitar into an amp, they'd come right down, and that would end guitar playing for me because then I'd have to, play with them while playing the guitar, or they're asleep, and I can't be blasting music, loud guitar stuff. So, yeah, this is just like a fun little toy. My little brother got it for me for Christmas, so thanks, Ben. I don't have anything else to say other than I'm a very bad guitarist, but I do enjoy playing the guitar, and this has this great effect that I've been looking for forever, which is like an echo effect, but it stops. Does that make any sense? Because like an echo effect normally goes like dee 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 dee, and it keeps going.
Yeah.
And Brian May used to, instead of using an echo effect, he'd use 3 amplifiers with delays on them. So he'd play this, and then it'd come out his amp, and then the next amp would play a couple seconds later, and then the next amp would play a couple seconds later, and then it would stop. And I've been looking to do that effect for like forever because I want to sound like Brian May on Brighton Rock Solo. This conversation is for nobody. I don't know why I'm even talking about this.
It's for you and it's for me. But it's mostly for you.
It's mostly for me.
Now, are electric guitars easier to play than regular guitars?
Yeah, because you don't have to generate the electricity for them.
Yeah.
For like an acoustic guitar, you have to generate the electricity yourself, and that takes a lot out of me whenever I try.
So I guess I mean, for the non-smart ass answer, I did take guitar class in my senior year of high school with the great Mr. L.
I did that too. That's what got me.
Oh, fun!
Got me to play the guitar.
That's what made me not want to play that. No, I didn't take it, but anyway.
And so I didn't know if it's a little easier to hold down the strings if it's electric, or if it's a little harder. Like, what's the difference in like?
I have always found physically it is easier to hold down strings and physically easier to play an electric guitar.
Yep. Yeah, for the most part.
But because it's louder.
Acoustic guitars, like that, it has different strings. Usually, electric guitar strings are slinkier and more bendable because that's a lot more what you do with an electric guitar. So, like, it's not as hard to push your fingers down, but like at the same time, if you're playing guitar for any extended amount of time, that stops becoming a problem because you get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get calluses.
You get calluses and you just kind of get used to it. But yeah, no, the playing style is completely different. Like with an acoustic guitar, you would probably play a lot of open chords and like play all the strings for a lot of it. With an electric guitar, if you start doing that too much, it's like really, it doesn't sound as good. So you usually have to be a lot more precise with your playing with electric guitar playing.
Yeah, there's like a higher bar for making mistakes, I feel like, because it's louder and it's like
and like every little finger move will like make a little plunk if you don't do it right, and then everyone knows what's happening.
I feel like you can fudge it a little bit more if you're playing with other people. You can fudge it a little bit more on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, an acoustic guitar is not meant to be amplified necessarily, so it's just it's. And the way you play is differently too, because like when you're playing an acoustic guitar, the harder you hit the strings, you can get like louder and softer and all this stuff. And where the electric guitar, some of that is true, some of that isn't true. And there's a lot more like with electric guitar. It's like you find your sound. Like when you pick up an acoustic guitar, it's like this is what it sounds like. The end. Yeah. Whereas when you pick up an electric guitar, you got tone knobs and volume knobs and different pickups patterns, and then you that's even before you plug it in. Then you plug it in, and your amp's got different maybe gain
dials
in there,
and who's it,
and all the dials and what's it, and then you get pedals to add in the sounds, and then you just keep adding things, and it makes it sound worse. And you're like, this one will make it sound better, and then it doesn't. And then you buy a little Brian May tiny teeny thing for like $60 or something really cheap, and it sounds better than anything else that you've cultivated thus far. And you're like, I'm the biggest idiot in the world. Why even try? Someone's going to figure it out before me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That seems oddly specific, but I'm sure it's just general.
Yeah.
Also, I will say with an acoustic guitar, one thing that you always got to keep in mind is like, once you have it, you have to bring it to every bonfire.
That is not true.
Really?
Yeah. See, there has been this like trope going around that there is no person worse on the planet than the person who brings an acoustic guitar to any second location. So, although I enjoy playing the guitar, I never play it for anybody out of fear of becoming the guy who shows up with the guitar and everyone immediately goes, who's the worst ever? Any talented musician. No, I don't know. Yeah. It's a trope I despise, and they used in the Barbie movie, and that made me turn to Caitlin and go like, I'm starting to not like this movie. I'm feeling personally attacked by the guy singing a song too. And that being the worst thing that has ever happened.
It's so funny because I didn't realize it was like that trope. Because in high school and just after high school, you guys always had, like, Mike always brought a guitar, or Brett always brought a guitar, or you always brought a guitar.
That was different.
It was like, because there was always multiple guitars.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was because we all showed up with guitars. And when you're all the guitar guy, like, then you just sing, then it's clearly that's what you want to do. But, like, if I was the only one to show up with guitar, and just imagine that same group of guys, I'm the only one who shows up with guitar, and I start playing Bare Naked Ladies songs and singing them, they'd throw rocks at my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Oh, okay.
Wait, what?
Hey, Craig.
Oh, Craig.
Oi.
Do you got one of those things? What were we talking about?
Yeah, it's called a wallet.
Oh,
Will.
wow.
Oh, that's right. It's time for what's in your. Oh, wait, no, we already did
We
that.
already did that part.
Okay.
I'm gonna fudge it a little bit this week. A soft recommendation.
Don't put fudge in your wallet. I don't recommend
it. Thank you, Phil.
Oh, is that what's going on with mine? I gotta stop doing that.
Yeah. I used to do it. It is not advisable at this point. The science has changed.
You know what? No, that's not what's wrong. I just keep shitting my pants. That's what keeps happening.
That'll happen.
That's why you have to pack. If you're going away for the weekend, you pack 7 pairs of underwear.
Yeah.
Do you know? Okay.
One to wear the whole week, and the rest to poop your pants on the ride home.
Yes.
I do that every single time, and I say it every single time I pack. Before I came back to Michigan for this weekend, I was packing, and I made the joke to Jack. I was like, "Oh yeah, I've got this many pairs of boxers, and then one extra just in case I shit my pants." And we laughed, and then I went upstairs and packed another one in case I shit those pants,
Oh
and then I packed another pair of pants, and then do you know what I did?
You shit your pants.
No, I didn't
Oh.
shower the whole time until the day I left. I was like, I was on camp rules.
Well, I mean, you were also couch hopping.
Yeah,
And
it was great.
So I
It was really great.
I can see that. I can see how that could happen. Anyways, Craig, what
You were talking about boxers
You got a softie
and
or
your
something?
pants for something?
Oh my god. Okay. So, soft recommendation, a softie for Yellow Jacket Season 2, which Veronica and I just finished. That's on Showtime. We did not get Showtime. We waited until it was at the library and rented it from there. So,
Yeah, it's like the only thing that's on Showtime that's good, right?
yeah.
That's like the thing that
joke.
brings you to Showtime, and then there's nothing else to watch. Because you had it at one point, and I went through it, and I was like, I don't want to watch any of this.
Yeah.
I could just log out.
Yeah, there's nothing. And now it's like being rolled into Paramount Plus, so
Oh. Okay.
I don't know what's happening anymore.
Yeah.
So season 2, I would say, is not as good as season 1. It's got that little bit of that sophomore slump. That being said, it's still really good. The cast is phenomenal. Reminder for anyone, if they didn't get my first recommendation, it's about a girls' soccer team in the 90s crashing in the wilderness of Canada and having to survive. And then you have the present day seeing who survived and what they're dealing with now. Yeah, it's really good. And then my other recommendation is going to be a podcast, and I'm pretty sure I didn't bring this up before, but it's actually the first podcast I ever listened to. This would have been, 7-8 years ago when I started listening to mostly just podcasts in the car. It's called My Favorite Murder, and I listened to that religiously for a couple of years. And it's two comedians, Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark, and they're very funny. And they talk about not just famous serial killers, but local, like people send in their local mysteries or murders or anything like that. So it's been interesting. Like I forget which host it is, but her husband is from Milford.
Oh.
And so he actually talked about one of the murders that happened there. And my dad's like, oh yeah, I remember that happened.
It was like from the Ipsy killer?
I think they did cover that one. I don't remember if I heard that one, but
yeah, there was for those of you who don't know, there was a serial killer in Ypsilanti.
Yep.
Killed like 5
I did not know
co-eds in the 70s, probably. That's when they were killing people. Was the 70s, right?
Yeah.
The barn is still there. I've seen it. It's kind of behind Eastern, over in the woods. So, yay!
Yay!
Cool.
Cool history. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah, if you're at all interested, and they're not, like I said, it's not just if you're kind of squeamish about murders and stuff like that. They have just interesting stories about. It's hard. Oh, gosh, how do I put this? Just people bucking societal norms. One was about a woman who was like the first famous aviator in Russia, and one about an Italian woman who basically, it used to be where if as a woman you were raped, as long as the man basically forced you into marrying him, he couldn't get in trouble. And she was the first person to be like, no, I'm not
Yikes.
I'm not going to marry you. And that was like a law. That was a law that was, you could not get punished for that. So this is back in like the 60s or 70s. So
Jesus.
A lot later. So interesting stories like that where you're like, holy crap. So like just historical heroes that you don't hear about. Like lately they did Harvey Milk, about his murder. I didn't really, I hadn't seen the movie, and I didn't really know anything about it that much, so it was interesting. So yeah, check it out. They've been around for a long time, so there's a lot of episodes, but you can just hop in whenever.
Nice. I saw them live with you,
yep.
but not with you.
Yep.
Wow.
You were sitting on the other side of the theater, and our eyes met.
Yeah.
And I thought, that guy's going to be my best friend. Oh, wait, no, that's Craig. He already is.
He already is.
Anyways, so short film on YouTube. It's called A Hollow Tree. It is a like half-hour sort of proof of concept short film that is about skinwalkers, but all the information you get is that you're following this guy in this clearly post-apocalyptic. I think he's in England or Scotland, so somewhere in the UK. And really creepy sequence with a like skinwalker, but not in like a it's a guy calling for help in the woods, and then this guy like scopes him out with his gun, and he like looks at the guy, and then the guy like isn't like moving humanly, and it's super creepy, and then he starts like running at him but like backwards. It was a pretty horrifying sequence, and then the guy's got a kid that he's taking care of, and it's a whole thing. It was a pretty cool little short movie. I'm really hoping that it's from this year. At least it was on YouTube this year. I'm hoping that it gets turned into something, because it was really cool. Seemed like a pretty cool setting. I mean, it's just post-apocalyptic with creepy skinwalker thing. But I was into it. So give it a whirl. I've been watching a lot of short films on YouTube. It's becoming a thing for me.
I feel like it says it's from 2023.
Yeah.
23 minutes. I feel
Hopefully
like
somebody gives them money. If you're listening to this and you have money, maybe give it to those guys.
No.
Oh, wait, give it to us. Sorry. My producer is yelling at me right now.
No. There are other people.
I feel like it's easier to scare people with a short subject versus trying to sustain it throughout a whole movie.
Yeah.
I think short stories are harder to pull off for the author, because you have to try to some people might think, oh, well, it's shorter, so it's easier. It's like, no, you actually have to like get all this done in a shorter span of
right. And there's it's all about
you have to make it a flavor bomb if we're like
Yeah.
moving it to the food world. Like you have to make it a concentrated flavor,
right?
That still makes sense and doesn't overpower. I've been watching a ton of short films, and they've almost all been short horror, short form like horror movies. I think the longest is this one at like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, basically with that, you have to think really smartly, and then you can only do so much. Like and it means a lot of the times you're killing good ideas, which can feel horrible, because you're like, this is a great idea. It's like, well, it's not going to work because it makes it this 40 minutes now, and we can't do 40 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that goes for short stories too.
Oh yeah.
Like I've always really liked Ray Bradbury short stories, whether it's from Illustrated Man or The Halloween Tree. Again, I feel like if you just have that that one concept that you can really hit hard, you can that can stick with people a lot more than a whole book's worth. You can go through the whole book, you're like, well, I guess that was fine, but like I really haven't read a book that you're like, oh, these are the scariest books that were ever written, and you go through the whole thing, you're like, it was fine, I guess. But you can read a short story, you're like, up at night,
I'm peeing my pants.
Neil Gaiman has a lot of collections of short stories that I'm pretty sure I own all of, and I really love. He seems to be really good at the short story, and my favorite book by him is not his most recent one, but his second most recent one. Is that how you would say that? I don't know. Which is The Ocean at the End of the Lane.
Yeah.
Which was supposed to be a short story, and then he just it just kept going and going, and then I realized I had a novel. Yeah. I'm a big fan. That's why I liked those like horror compilations that and stuff like that. I just like these like. I've become over the years a fan of the anthology film as well, like the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I really like. It's like here's a small idea, we're trying it out, and then it's over. And I sort of like the idea of it. It just happened. We're just saying something that's short and sweet, and then it's done. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's just presenting a simple idea. What if?
Yeah.
Werewolves are real and you had one in your backyard. Well, and then let's explore that for a few minutes as opposed to...
I'd go outside and pet him.
Okay, what else can I introduce into this story to make it interesting for the next half an hour? Like, how am I going to raise this
birds?
I had an idea for a short film, which was that like a guy drinking coffee just looks at his backyard and sees a leprechaun. And then the leprechaun goes like, oh, whoops, and then disappears. And then the rest of the short film is how that just ruined his life because he now doesn't know how anything works anymore. And it totally made his worldview broken. Because I think about that, like, if you saw something like that, you'd be like, oh, everything I know is wrong. Oh, no.
What else could be real?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
So speaking of not short stories, we watched a movie.
We did. That's right. We watched.
Wait, was I supposed to watch a movie for this one? I thought we were just hanging out again.
You know what, Phil? Honestly, if you didn't watch it, it doesn't really change the content of this podcast.
Okay.
All right. So we watched Galaxy Quest, which is a 1999 American science fiction comedy film directed by Dean Pariseau and written by David Howard and Robert Gordon. It stars Tim Allen as Jason Nesbitt as Commander Peter Quincy Taggart, Sigourney Weaver as Gwen DeMarco as Tawny Madison, Alan Rickman as Alexander Dane as Dr. Lazarius, Tony Shalhoub as Fred Kwan as Tech Sergeant Chen, Sam Rockwell as Guy Fleegman as Crewman Number 6, and Daryl Mitchell as Tommy Weber as Lieutenant Laredo. It's 102 minutes long. It had a $45 million budget, and it made $90 million. How do you guys think this movie did on Rotten Tomatoes?
Bad.
I want to say it was probably like an 84%.
69.
Craig has it. 90% score. This movie actually was critically acclaimed when it came out. It was just marketed badly.
I heard DreamWorks didn't really know what to do with it.
They didn't know what to do with it, and they had made I did a little research this time, and by did a little research, I listened to another podcast that already had done a little bit of research.
Nice.
But basically, DreamWorks didn't know how to market it. They didn't know who they wanted. A family. They like halfway through in post-production decided they wanted a family-friendly film. After making money, I think on the Rugrats movie or something. So they had to re-edit it and then market it differently than the way it was supposed to. So nobody even knew that it was happening. And the people who would have been interested, like Trekkies, people who went to these science conventions, thought it was either going to be making fun of them the whole time, which was like, why would I go and watch that? Or it was just going to be like a kid-friendly movie. It wasn't going to be fun. So,
yeah, I think it was something on IMDb where Sigourney Weaver said that DreamWorks was trying to come out with a family-friendly movie during Christmas to compete with Stuart Little.
Yeah. So they didn't.
And honestly, that's probably my biggest complaint about the movie. Is it just because when we were watching it, I'm like, oh, this is this is the edited version of this movie.
Yes, it feels like
every that is every version. That is, they did that on purpose.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like the made for. There's even one moment where Sigourney Weaver clearly says, "Well, this," and and they've dubbed over her saying like, "Well, screw this," maybe.
Yeah,
and it's very clear that that's not what she said. But I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. So
sorry.
I was the one who picked this movie. I picked it because I listened to an episode of What Went Wrong, and it made me want to evaluate it and watch it again. I just wanted to. I also wanted to see your guys' take on how you felt about it. And I'm going to go out and say that I really like this movie. I think it's one of those movies that feels like a perfect movie. You know, it's very movie-y, where it's got a lot of the right beats happen at the right moment, and a good cast of characters, and a lot of, it's like, you know, that sweet spot between comedy and heart, where it has characters who have depth and learn, but it's also funny throughout. So I quite liked it, and I watched it with Craig, and Craig's spoken a little bit, so let's hear from Philip.
Who up?
Yeah, did you actually watch the movie?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. Sometimes, I don't know.
I had
with
also
you.
already seen it. You always say this, that you expect me to one day just not have watched the movie. And listen, I did think about it once because I thought it'd be really funny.
I tell you what, that wouldn't have been funny.
Well,
I tell
it was
you
when
would
we
have seen a
did-
really weird version of me. It would have
It was when we
reminded
did
you of middle
the
school.
Talking Heads one, and I was going to go see the Taylor Swift concert instead,
Yeah.
and that would have been pretty funny.
Yeah.
No, I like this. I had seen it before. I
What's that?
I think for me, like it's a fun romp, and I enjoy it. I think there's a sort of an upper limit on how much I could like it, because it
Interesting.
is just, and I feel this way with any like satire movie, is that like there's only so much that I'm gonna be into it, so I'm never gonna give it like a perfect score. It's funny, and I really enjoyed watching it.
Well, see, I would push back on the fact that I don't think this is necessarily a satire.
What?
No.
Explain.
I mean, it to me, it's a satire. Well, maybe.
Like, he's not saying satire like
Parody. Maybe that's what I was
like
thinking.
a date movie or any of those kind of epic movie.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Maybe parody is the word.
Yeah. I guess sometimes what I'm going to push back on is maybe what I thought you might have been saying was that it's a non-serious movie. You know what I mean? Like, this movie doesn't take itself seriously. And I don't think that's right. I think this movie does take itself seriously, and that's part of why it works. But that's not what you said, so I just made you into a straw man and then knocked you down, and I feel pretty good about myself. I see why Fox News does it all the time.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Yeah, no, I mean, I like it. I mean, I think it's great. And I think it really nails the parody of those shows and also of those actors, because at least one of the scenes is specifically based on William Shatner's real life experience at a con, that he was in the bathroom and overheard somebody talking about how he's a joke, and like the rest of the cast doesn't like him, and like all the stuff that happens to Tim Allen's character.
Yeah.
That's straight from William Shatner's real life. So like it nails the parody of Star Trek and the parody of like B shows, just absolutely. And there's so many like really good funny moments, and I like the way the bad guys look.
Yeah, they look pretty
they
good.
Look cool.
Yeah, they're
I
pretty
think they
cool
look pretty good. And
Yeah.
for this having been 1999, they still look pretty good.
Yeah, they still look pretty good.
They still look pretty
Even
good.
the rock monster didn't look great, but the little dudes looked okay, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned William Shatner, and I just want to. I saw a quote from him on this movie, and this is him. He's saying, "I thought it was funny, and I thought the audience that they portrayed was totally real, but the actors that they were pretending to be were totally unrecognizable. Certainly I don't know what Tim Allen was doing. He seemed to be the head of the group of actors, and for the life of me, I was trying to understand who he was imitating.
Oh, honey.
Honey. I'm pretty sure he was making a joke.
Yeah.
But I do think that's very funny and self-aware of him. But yeah. Craig, how did you feel about this movie?
Well, I'm glad I had an entrance music for that. So I've seen this many times, and it's definitely one of those movies where I've seen it enough times to where I don't have to see it again, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Tell
us how you really feel.
No. So there's just certain, when you watch, movies from when you're a kid, like Princess Bride, I remember every single part of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I technically don't have to ever watch that movie again. It's just you do because you like it so much. This is a nice Saturday afternoon kind of movie.
Yeah.
That if it's on, I might sit down and watch parts of it. And I'm like, oh yeah, this part's funny.
It's a good old TNT movie.
Yep. I
mean, it's better.
I think this is the best viewing I've had of it, just because I've caught more stuff. So I really like this movie, but I'm in the same camp as Phil, where I can only go so high, just because I'm not saying there's one joke, but it's one very big joke. And it's like, what if Star Trek was real? Well, and I'm really trying not to get you upset.
No,
here.
I'm not.
Sucked, man.
No, I'm not getting upset. I understand. I understand what you guys are saying, and I just think I think part of the reason why I'm pushing back on you guys is sort of like being like, yeah, it was fine in this sense here and there, is because like I kind of feel for this movie a little bit. I feel kind of like it feels like a movie that was completely misunderstood from the beginning in terms of its production and like what people thought it was supposed to be. And for whatever reason, that sort of like makes me
identify with this.
Well, of course, yeah, and it makes me like it a lot more. And I also just like I like that it isn't mean spirited in its sort of like, satire, the more satire parts. Like in the end, like it actually the actors. So for those of you who don't know, maybe we haven't explained yet, but this movie's Galaxy Quest is essentially, the premise is one's if the actors who portrayed characters on a fictional TV show found themselves in a situation where they had to do what their characters did in the TV show. So you have like, a character who has to be the captain of a starship, but he's just a regular human actor, right? Because they become tangled up in this galactic conquest with this
I think the word you're looking for is enwebbened.
Enwebbened, yes. With this alien race called the Temerians who don't understand what fiction or lying is. So they've seen the show Galaxy Quest and they think it's historical documents because they don't understand what lying is or acting is, right? And so that's like the big premise. And honestly, I love the Temerians. I love how they walk. I love how they just like do everything weird.
They talk weird.
Yeah.
I like the way they talk.
Yeah, and they're really like calamari or whatever, like giant squid monsters.
Yeah.
But so anyways, like I think my whole point is that it's not mean-spirited in the way that it makes fun of these things and makes fun of these sort of tropes and stuff. It in the end, it actually becomes what it's lampooning in a lot of ways. It becomes a Star Trek movie, you know?
Right.
Like
yeah.
all the characters become their characters to a certain extent. And
yeah, it's definitely it's a loving parody.
Yeah,
That's for sure. It's not like
yeah,
like you said, it's not mean-spirited.
There's definitely a version of this movie where Justin Long's character is kind of is made fun of and thrown away. He doesn't come back into the movie and it basically saves the day.
And I think that was Harold Ramis's version of this movie. Harold Ramis was going to be the one who was signed on as the director, and part of his stipulation, which was interesting, is that he didn't want comedians. He wanted only serious actors who had never been in sci-fi before. So, interestingly enough, Sigourney Weaver was like, I really want in on this project. I think it's great. And Harold Ramis was like, nope, because you've already been in sci-fi and comedies before, so I don't want you to do it. And then they eventually got Tim Allen to do it, and that caused Harold Ramis to quit, which then allowed Sigourney Weaver, with the new director, to be like, I want to be in it. And he was just like, hell yeah. She did have some stipulations, is that she wanted to be blonde and have big boobs. So, because she wanted to, play against her usual type character, I guess.
She's the best.
Yeah. And I love her character in this, where her whole thing is that she, like on the show, all she did was repeat what the computer said.
Yeah.
So on this ship, so the Temerians create the actual ship from the show. Whenever Tim Allen's character asks, whenever Jason Nesmith asks the computer a question, it gives this really convoluted answer. And so Sigourney Weaver's always just repeating what the computer's saying. And then at one point, someone's like, will you stop doing that? She's like, I have one job. It's stupid, but I'm going to do it.
Okay. My favorite part of this is definitely just the crew itself. I like the Temerians a lot, and it's fun seeing a lot of character actors who would, become more famous later on, like Rainn Wilson.
Yeah.
And there's a few other ones I don't know
Missy
their
Pyle
names.
goes on after this, and
it was Justin Long's debut as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, and oh man, what's Lloyd? What's his name?
Sam Lloyd.
Yeah,
Sam Lloyd. Yeah, from
Sam
Scrubs.
Lloyd,
Yeah.
So besides them, it's just having Sam Rockwell in the movie. Like, if it weren't for one other actor, he'd be the MVP, just because he is. If you just watch him the whole time, you're gonna have a good time. Like, he's just very funny.
Yeah.
And the MVP though is Tony Shalhoub, who I was reading. So I'm getting conflicting things, but either he was given free reign to just do whatever he wanted with the character, or he was supposed to be high the whole time, and that's why he's acting spaced out and he's eating snacks.
So the thing with Tony Shalhoub's character is that he plays somebody named Fred Kwan, who played Tech Sergeant Chen. So he was like clearly supposed to be Asian, but it's Tony Shalhoub, and he isn't. So Tony Shalhoub thought it would be funny to sort of channel. Who is the name of the guy? Hold on.
David Carradine.
Yeah, David Carradine from Kung Fu, who's supposed to be Asian, who also, David Carradine apparently used a lot of drugs while filming. So his whole thing was that he was like, that was his character, was that he was high the whole time. So he was like the polar opposite of Sam Rockwell's character. And he's always alluding to it, like when they all first arrive, being like rocketed through space in these like gel sacks, they all like land and are like, ha, 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 and like freaking out. And when he shows up, he's like, whoa, that was a hell of a thing. And I like loved that. It was just, and yeah, he's always like eating food and stuff. And So, and apparently, yeah, he had a lot of, like, his character was one of the least thought out. And so when he also, like, when they first introduced him, they're like, oh, Tech Sergeant Chen. Tony Shalhoub, like, squints his eyes a little bit, and he's like, hi.
Yeah.
It's because he's...
He remembers he's supposed to be in character.
Yeah. And when they show it from the 80s show, he's squinting his eyes and got, like, it's bad. It's got like makeup to make him seem more Asian. Yeah. But yeah, no, he is fun. And the other person we haven't talked about is Alan Rickman is in this. And there is a lot of life imitating art in this, or art imitating life, or art, or just doing life in art. It doesn't matter.
Life imitating life.
Because Alan Rickman's relationship to Tim Allen was very similar to their character Alexander Dane's relationship to Jason Nesmith, which Alan Rickman, like, Tim Allen, like, showed up and, like, he's a comedic. He's a stand-up who became an actor and did, like, sitcoms and stuff, who, like, obviously doesn't see acting the same way Alan Rickman did. Mm-hmm. So Alan Rickman, who was, like, a theater actor and the Shakespearean actor, it's, like, literally the character's, like, so Tim Allen would show up late and all this stuff that his character actually does. And what's interesting is through the course of the film, Tim Allen does have this, like, really great line. Not line. This really great scene, and I've seen kind of a lot of Tim Allen because my dad was a big fan of him, and I think his scene where he's telling the Theremans that it's all a lie, that he's a liar, and he kind of, like, has to admit to this, like, basically someone who has, like, the emotional intelligence of a child, that everything that they believed was wrong. Anyways, after that scene was over, apparently, Tim Allen was like, yeah, I don't like these feelings I'm having. I got to go back to my trailer. And then Alan Rickman turned to the director and was like, oh my God, I think he just experienced acting.
That's really funny.
Yeah. And apparently they did eventually, they got along, but towards the end, they kind of, like, Alan Rickman came to understand sort of what Tim Allen brought to the table in terms of, like, his comedic chops and his sort of everymanness. That was Tim Allen's whole shtick. That's why, like, my dad loved him, is because his whole thing was that I'm just a regular dude, you know?
Yeah, he's kind of always a jackass, though.
Yeah. And apparently
regular dudes are jackasses.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's the thing.
Yeah, in more recent years, Tim Allen has sort of become a little bit more of a cantankerous individual. He's, for the most part, very, I think he's right wing, but he's much more silent about it than. And then there was a quote by Casey Wilson that apparently he was, like, just awful to work with on the Santa Claus series.
Yeah.
Nice. Classic.
Which I'm not surprised by. Again, he seems like somebody who doesn't really respect the thing of acting. Like, he's an entertainer. I feel like something happens to stand-ups where when they, like, don't have an audience anymore, and they it happens to actual stand-ups too, where it's like when they get enough success and money, they just, like, suck at what they're doing because, like, they lack the insight. Like, what made them great was their ability to be relatable, but then their lives became so unrelatable they can't do their job anymore. So they also then go on to do acting, which is not their job to begin with. So now they're, like, they're acting, they're not writing their own things, they're saying other people's words, which was never what they did before. And it's a delayed response in terms of audience gratification because you're not getting the applause and the laughter immediately. So I think it just, like, it's not good it's not sustainable in a lot of ways. Anyways.
One thing I liked was Alan Rickman. His character does not take off the makeup ever, including when he's at home.
Yeah, he's in his house. He's got it on.
So I think that's in reference to his character kind of makes it very clear that he does not enjoy that he's only known for the sci-fi show.
Yeah, he's Leonard Nimoy, which Leonard Nimoy famously wrote 2 books. The first one was titled "I'm Not Spock," and then the second one was titled "I Am Spock."
Yeah, so I think it's somebody who loves it and also hates it. It's kind of that whole relationship. And I'm sure Patrick Stewart is the same way, that he is a Shakespearean, classically trained actor who is primarily known for Star Trek, and anything else is like, X-Men. Nobody knows him from, Hamlet or, Richard III.
Green Room. I've actually never seen Green Room, but
I know, I want to see it.
I do. I really want to see it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I did really like this movie, and
it's definitely fun.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth a watch for sure. I don't know that I'd want to. I think I'm like Craig said. I think I don't feel like I would need to see it again. But if it was on, I'd probably sit down and watch it. It's definitely worth having seen once or twice though, because it's super funny.
I think if they were allowed to have a little bit more bite to it, if they hadn't been toned down, I think that would help a lot. Because again, you can tell that she's saying the F word.
Yeah. There was a lot more.
They just didn't let him do it.
Yeah, and the original sort of script. Well, this movie is one of those movies where like someone read the original script, was like, this is a terrible script but a great idea, so I'm going to buy it. And then like a bunch of other people came in and rewrote it. And apparently the key to unlocking the story was making it so that Tim Allen's character loved being Tim Allen's character. How he shows up and he just like, he loves all the attention still and all that stuff. And in the original like sort of script, he hated it. He was more along the lines with, Alan Rickman's character, and it didn't work until they figured out. Yeah.
So somebody in the group has to be that character.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like.
Anyways, but yeah, no, in the original script, there was like when they crash landed the ship into the convention center, they like killed people and stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot darker in the original.
Yeah. I was thinking about that at the end. I was like, everyone's cheering and it's all good and happy. And they can play it off like it's a really big stunt, like a publicity stunt. But like they did crash into the side of a building. That's so much construction.
It's a lot darker too. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, and they just didn't. Yeah. That's so much money.
Yeah.
And then I don't think that show has. Well, no, they put the show back on air so that they'd have money to cover the
That's true.
publicity stunt.
Yeah.
So it all worked out in the end. Except for a bunch of Thermians died.
Yeah, a bunch of Thermians did die. All right, so do you guys, do you think we're there? You guys have anything else left to add on this perfect film? It's amazing, incredible movie.
I think you got me there.
Yeah. All right, so are we ready to do our final judgment? Is that what we're going to call it now? The final judgment?
Yeah, the head is on the chopping block. Are we cutting it off or...
leaving 3/5 of it there?
Yeah. What are we doing with it?
What are we doing with it? So, Craigerton.
I'm going to give this... oh, gosh. What do they call that? 4 out of 5 smashy hallway. I don't know what the crusher thinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when she's like, why would you do this? Why would you design it? And it's because they designed it exactly from the movie or from the TV show, which it just had in there.
Whoever this writer is should die.
Yeah. Phil.
Craig, Craig, what'd you give it?
Where?
What'd you give it?
4.
4. Okay, cool. Right on. I'm gonna give this a 3.75. Could they be the minors? Sure, they're like 3 years old. Minors, not minors. That was a really good
line.
I laughed so hard at that
Like
line.
the dumbest line ever.
It's so dumb.
And it hardly works because like when he said it at first, I was like, what? Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, it's perfect.
I mean,
Yeah,
I think
Will,
you guys
where are you at? You're a fiber?
You guys are insane. I'm going to give this movie 5. Let's get out of here before somebody kills Guy out of 5.
Yeah.
Uh,
Who survives the ending?
Yeah, and at the end, spoiler alert, if you don't watch it, go watch it, but there's a moment where everyone gets killed and shot, and the only one who doesn't get killed or shot is Guy.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty funny. Right. Okay. So you guys are wrong, but that's fine. Sometimes you guys can have wrong opinions,
Yeah, I think, and I
Nobody's
think this
perfect,
is
who's
America.
not me.
Will, this wasn't directed by Wes Anderson. You don't have to be mad.
I'm not mad. I just think
I'm
you're
just
wrong.
disappointed.
I'm just disappointed. No,
Oh.
no,
Sorry,
I
Dad.
think part of the reason why
Sorry,
I did
Daddy.
I think part of the reason why I enjoyed it a lot more on this watch, not that I didn't enjoy it the other time I saw it, is I did listen to the podcast What Went Wrong. So I highly recommend to our listeners listening to that podcast after or before you watch it, because it does kind of help color some of how what you're seeing occurred. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of gives you a lot more perspective on the process of the movie making that makes you appreciate some of the choices and how they got there a lot more, which I think is something that we overlook a lot when it comes to movies. Maybe not a lot, but it's often not explained how hard it was to make movies happen, how hard it is to make movies happen, because people hear things like, oh, it had a $90 million budget or a $45 million budget. That's so much money. Like, how could they screw this up? But what they don't understand is, like, basically you're erecting a small business in 6 weeks. Yes, I did say erect. Or for 6 months, and then dismantling the whole thing as well. And then so it's, I don't know. Movie making process is messy. And it's interesting. It's always fascinating to me. And I'm assuming if you're listening to this podcast, it must be at least minorly fascinating to you. So anyways, that's my last bit on this.
So are we ready for our weekly, bi-monthly, weekly, whatever it is? Anyway, you guys want to play the Rotten Tomatoes game?
Oh, yeah, first time in 2024. I'm going to win. I'm going to win all 2024.
I had no idea what Craig was getting at. I was like, what is happening? What is this?
I was just going to let him go until he got there. I knew he'd get there. It just takes some time.
He just left. Anyways, that's right. It's time for Rotten From My Head to My Toes, where we play a game where we guess the Rotten Tomatoes score, and whoever gets closest to it gets a point, and whoever gets the most points wins a prize, and that prize is to say that they won and the other person didn't. I'm stalling as Craig pulls out the thing. He's got one job, and he can't handle that.
Yep.
Actually,
if I had a nickel.
He has 2 jobs. One is to do Rotten From My Head from my head to my toes, and the other is to yell at me when I forget to make the things for the social media.
Yeah.
You know what? I got 2 packs of movies that I haven't opened up yet, so I think I'm going to mix these up even more.
Oh, man. Okay. I'm just going to Google them when you tell me.
I have to do this one just because it's, oh, man.
Is it Galaxy Quest?
No. Problem Child from 1990.
Oh, God.
I don't even know what that is.
You don't know what that is?
74.
I have no idea. I'm gonna go with 50. That's terrible. What a terrible guess.
Will gets it 0%.
I should have known. I should have known
even
it
know
was
what
a
that is.
0. It's such a bad set of movies.
Is it John Ritter in that? Yeah, John Ritter and Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah, there's this kid and he's an absolute piece of shit. That's the movie.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Those are all rotten. Okay. All right. I can't just give you all the like insanely rotten ones. I have to mix these up.
Okay.
All right. So next one is going to be not sure. The Fast
job.
and the Furious.
Oh.
Wait, The Fast and the Furious?
So the first one from 2001.
Okay.
100%.
Oh, okay.
Stand by it.
All right, 70%.
What did you say, Phil?
100.
100%.
Will gets it 54%.
Yeah, I was gonna say that movie was, and also like saying 100% is a guaranteed loss.
On a movie you know is not 100%.
I
I'm
should have
standing by it.
just said 99.
Should
I'm standing by it. I'm sticking with it.
All right, let's see. 2015's The Martian.
Ooh, 92.
Oh, I have 84.
Phil gets it 91%.
Ooh, very good.
Ooh. Look at me getting one right.
Yeah, scoreboard on the scoreboard. Question 3. This is the longest game we've ever had because Craig's taking
I'm an
forever.
idiot. Shut up. Jumanji from 1995.
Ooh. I'm going to go with an...
81.
I kid you not, I was going to say 82. So I'll just say 82.
That's why I said it first, because I was like, he's going to go right where I want to go.
Phil's going to get it,
Phil
though.
gets it 52%.
I was gonna say, that's not a good movie. I don't know why I went that high.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'm misremembering it.
I mean,
I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
It's fine. It's not great, but it's,
50 just seems so low.
That seems really low.
The Princess Diaries from 2001.
Son of a biscuit. I have no idea.
85.
I'm going to go 70.
Will gets it 49%.
Wow.
I think I'm just thinking that the critics like more movies.
Well, it's also
than they
like
do.
when he mentions a movie that's like from my childhood, I'm like, oh boy, I have to like remove a lot of baggage and like misunderstanding about what makes a movie good and what makes a movie bad.
Yeah.
And try and remember what critics thought of a movie I watched when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Okay. 1994's Clerks.
Oh.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to say 85.
I'm going to say 63.
Will gets it 90%.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I'm pretty sure that movie was a smashing success in a lot of ways.
I didn't know if critics liked it or not.
Are we going to 5 or 10? I don't
5.
remember anymore.
We're definitely going to
Oh, it's
5.
Okay, so Will won that one.
Are you sure? I think I only got 4.
You only got 4? Okay. All right.
Let's do one. I think I can pull this out. I think I can win.
2004's I, Robot.
Ooh. 30%.
61.
Oh,
Phil gets
that was
it
the one to guess.
56%.
Yeah, God damn it.
Okay.
Yes. I'm coming back.
All right, here's an interesting one. Titanic from 97.
Oh.
I mean, like 90.
98.
Will wins it with 87%.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I
I've
won.
never actually seen that movie.
The second half is fantastic.
All the people dying in the boat
it's
sinking.
all the people dying in the boat sinking. That's like my one sort of Titanic joke that's like very male centric, sort of like I don't like things that have girls and kissing.
I don't like the romance with the girl part.
Yeah, but I do like when all the people die.
Yeah,
And the old people are sad. That's hilarious.
love when old people are
Hilarious.
sad.
Also, don't you like how she like throws that thing away, and that's the whole thing Bill Paxton is looking for? She like just throws it away. That old lady.
Yeah. Yeah. Craig,
Yeah.
what do you have planned for us next?
Okay, so it's my choice next week.
Is the movie from the first half of the century or the second half?
Second half.
Okay. First
we're
half
gonna-
of the second half or second half of the second half?
First half, shut the hell up. I'm going to tell you.
Oh, okay.
So we are going to be watching David Lynch's Blue Velvet,
Nice. Aye.
and we are going to have a
second
guest.
half of the second half.
We're going to have a guest on the pod. My good friend Zach Demers, who is introduced me to David Lynch and Twin Peaks, all his movies. So yeah, it'll be great to have him on here, get his perspective on it, on a movie that he introduced to me also. So yeah, it'll be next time.
Cool.
I don't know if I've seen anything from David Lynch.
I feel like you'll like him. He's a weird guy, and he does weird movies.
This is
Yeah.
surprising, and this is probably a weird thing to say. This is probably one of his most accessible
Yes.
movies.
Yeah. I have heard that Blue Velvet is sort of his most mainstream he ever gets.
I mean, Dune is kind of. It's hard to say that's accessible, just because it's a very strange sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
But it's
Based on
know.
a very strange book that I could not get into. I tried like 7 times to read Dune. And I was like, all this talk of the commerce of spice and like trade routes of spice and moisture farming. I'm like, how does anybody like this?
I am in the same boat.
And
I
I
have tried to read it like 7 times.
I finally understood why people push nerds' head in toilets. I was like, I just want to do that to every person who likes this.
Oh, man.
there's a Nick Cage movie, Wild at Heart. There you go, Phil.
Oh, it's on my list. Whether I knew it or not.
All right. I think that's it.
Thank you for liking and subscribing to the podcast. We're on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to tell us what your favorite Star Trek movie is, and if Galaxy Quest is it or not.
All right. So this episode is brought to you by, my mom, Janet Chodas.
Woo!
So thanks, Mom. So
Thanks, Mom.
if you're interested in helping support us and hearing your name shouted out on the podcast, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/mumble and shrug.
If you like what you heard, consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Play. That's all for this episode. I'm Phil Kessel.
I'm Will Chodas.
And I'm falling asleep.
By the hammer of Grabthar. Was that it?
Wow.
Was that it?
Just so lazy. So little effort from the two of you today. I'm
grabber of Hamthar.
Disappointed. You know what? This actually, this is nice. This is going to dovetail nicely into the production meeting that I wanted to have afterwards, where I need to start telling you guys off for your sloppy on mic work. All right.
No. Here's the deal. I'm doing like a it's like mumblecore.
Yeah.
Is to movies. I'm doing that for podcasts where it's like,
Phil, I heard
this is the real me.
I heard that in our last meeting. It didn't work then, and it doesn't work now. Okay,
but I wanted other people
don't
to
believe
defend
you.
me.
I just like sticking microphones in my mouth.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You know who has to pay for those microphones? This guy. This guy.
How much fun money do we have left?
None. We've been replacing it all on microphones and games of Rotten Tomatoes. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Brought to you by Mumble and Shrug Productions.